Baba Vanga's surprising prediction: 2026 will be unforgettable for these zodiac signs. Imagine a year where subtle hints harden into unmissable chances, invitations that arrive at exactly the right moment, small decisions that push long-dormant plans into motion, recognition that comes when you thought the world had moved on. Prophecies circulating under the name Baba Vanga have been labeled by some as heralding a great awakening in 2026, a season in which energy shifts and windows of power appear for certain people. Predictions commonly attributed to Baba Vanga suggest that for a handful of zodiac signs, the coming year could feel especially pivotal. Openings, recoveries, and fresh authority that are more tangible than rumors. Treat this as interpretation and possibility, not promise. What follows is meant to orient you to timing and opportunity so you can act with clarity and prudence. Start here. If you are an Aries or a Taurus, listen closely. Your spring sparks could set the tone for the whole year. Before we go deeper into each sign's seasonal arc, a quick note. If you want monthly breakdowns and timely prompts tied to your sign, consider subscribing and turning on alerts so you don't miss those moments as they arrive. Aries, the year you move first. Expectation: spring ignition, summer momentum, autumn validation, winter consolidation. For the Ram who has grown tired of waiting, 2026 may present a sequence of nudges that reward the person who decides quickly but wisely. The spring months look like a trigger. A new doorway opens, a meeting, an unexpected offer, a shift in your circle that nudges a stalled project forward. This isn't only about dramatic leaps. It's the kind of momentum where small yeses accumulate into a visible climb. By summer, you'll feel the pace pick up. Visibility increases, and people begin to notice what you've been building. If you've been hesitating on a risky yes, the summer could be the time when saying yes produces visible returns. Career and finance. Expect opportunities that reward initiative. A short-term contract, a freelance lead, or a new role that fits your drive may surface in spring and accelerate through summer. Earnings may feel steadier as autumn approaches, when earlier choices get formalized into recognition or compensation. Relationships. Sparks in spring could mean new social alliances rather than an instant romantic fairy tale. Existing partnerships can deepen if you take the lead on a joint goal. Be mindful of overcommitting emotionally while chasing momentum. Inner shift. Confidence is the hidden prize. Acting on small chances will build a record of success that quiets self-doubt. The big emotional work for Aries is learning when to speed up and when a pause actually preserves stamina. Action prompt. When a plausible door opens this spring, take one practical step within a week. A short call, a 2-paragraph proposal, a trial session, instead of letting paralysis stall it. Wait a beat. Taurus is quietly reclaiming what was owed. Taurus, restore justice and a new foundation. Expectation: spring impulse to act, summer steady growth, autumn stabilization, winter inner realignment. For Taurus, 2026 reads like a ledger correcting itself. The prophecy pattern suggests an undercurrent of restored balance. Things that once felt unresolved may start to tip back in your favor. Spring brings a prompt to leave a comfort zone, not recklessly, but with a plan to secure a more dignified footing. This could show up as a reevaluation of income streams, a legal tidy-up, or a situation where someone acknowledges what you've quietly sustained. Career and finance. Think of spring as the season to plant a seed that bears fruit through the warmer months. Contracts renegotiated, overdue payments resolved, or a new steady client could bring practical relief. The emphasis is on reliable growth rather than sudden windfalls. Relationships. Calm but consequential recalibrations. If you've been holding expectations that were never met, spring nudges you to speak or rearrange boundaries. By autumn, relationships that respect your standards are more likely to remain. Inner shift. A movement from passive endurance to intentional selection. Taurus learns that comfort without progress is a slow drain. 2026 invites stepping into development even when it means discomfort. Action prompt. Identify one thing you will not tolerate anymore. A pattern, a bill, a role, and write a short plan to change it before summer. Draw the line and map 2 small steps toward it. Coming up next is Gemini, where long-standing ideas find their finish line. But first, if any of this is landing, don't forget to subscribe for monthly updates for your sign. Gemini, finish what you started. Expectation, spring reactivation, summer social blossoming, autumn consolidation, winter quiet harvest. For the sign of ideas and connections, 2026 may be the year projects that linger in the almost pile finally cross the threshold. The spring phase looks like a wake-up call for neglected drafts, half-built collaborations, and conversations left unfinished. That nudge could arrive as a reconnection, a deadline, or simply an internal decision that finally aligns time with priority. By summer, social energy amplifies progress. Collaborators appear, audiences respond, and the networks that matter begin to work in your favor. Career and finance. Expect that monetization or tangible contracts flow from follow-through. A piece of work completed in spring and promoted in summer can lead to stable returns by autumn. The key is converting ideas into deliverables. Relationships. Communication improves when you demonstrate follow-through. Partners respond to consistency more than charming rhetoric. If there's been a trust gap, sustained completion of promises is the remedy. Inner shift. Patience becomes productive. The transformation for Gemini is learning to stay with the grind long enough to see results. Finishing, not just starting, rewrites your reputation. Action prompt. Choose one stalled project and set a 3-step plan with deadlines. Honor it publicly so social follow-up helps keep you honest. Hold on, the next sign will ask you to go inward before you go outward. Cancer, deep transformation and emotional infrastructure. Expectation, spring breakthrough, summer sustained energy, autumn shedding, winter renewed structure. Cancer's arc for 2026 leans into inner renovation that later manifests externally. Spring offers an opening that feels less like a job opportunity and more like emotional permission. Permission to let go, to set new boundaries, to leave behind habits that no longer serve. This could be subtle, a conversation where you finally state your limits, or a practical reorganization of home life. But that release creates new capacity. Summer brings energy and visible movement as you channel that capacity into life-affirming action rather than defensive reaction. Career and finance? The professional picture may shift as inner clarity clarifies external choices. You might move away from roles that require emotional labor without reward and toward positions or projects that honor your values. Financial improvement is likely to be steady rather than explosive. Relationships. Letting go is the theme. Relationships that rely on old patterns will either reform or fall away. The healthiest alliances adapt. The payoff is deeper connections that respect your needs. Inner shift. Reclaiming personal boundaries and building systems that protect your energy. The most potent transformation is not dramatic change so much as a steadier, healthier inner environment that supports long-term growth. Action prompt. During spring, identify one attachment to release, an expectation, a role, an item, and take one concrete step to dissolve it. Sell, delegate, say no. Pause here. Leo's year is about being seen in a new light. Leo, recognition and the quiet sun. Expectation, spring clarity, summer creative surge, autumn relationship pruning, winter steady acclaim. For Leo, 2026 has a bright center. The pattern suggests clarity in spring, leading to creative opportunities that gather momentum through summer. Unlike the flash-in-the-pan spotlight, this feels like earned recognition, platforms that reward your authentic expression, roles that let you lead without posturing, applause that follows substance. The autumn months are likely to be about refining your circle, shedding those who sought attention rather than supporting real growth. So the adoration you receive is more meaningful. Career and finance. Career projects or leadership roles that align with your voice could attract tangible reward. The key is authenticity. When your public persona matches your inner work, sustainable returns follow. Relationships. This year asks you to lead with generosity, but also with standards. The relationships that remain will be those that celebrate your true gifts rather than drain them. Inner shift. The lesson is to find confidence rooted in contribution, not in approval. Recognition becomes a mirror of what you're actually giving rather than what you desire to be seen doing. Action prompt. Identify one creative idea you've avoided because of fear of judgment, and commit to a low-risk public test in summer. A short talk, a portfolio piece, a small performance. Take a breath. Virgo's practical payoff shows how preparation meets opportunity. Virgo, practical payoff and strategic scaling. Expectation. Spring financial opening, mid-year contract or income, autumn consolidation, winter milestone. Virgo's 2026 reads like the spreadsheet finally balancing in your favor. Spring brings small but decisive openings, a dependable client, a process that finally produces results, or an optimization that frees time and money. Mid-year could bring a concrete contract or income spike that rewards steady diligence. This isn't luck, it's a system finally delivering because you built it. The later months are for scaling rather than tinkering. If you want bigger outcomes, you must think larger than a to-do list. Career and finance. Practical gains materialize as the systems you created begin to pay dividends. Look for contract renewals, process-driven income, or opportunities to convert small wins into sustainable revenue. Relationships. Supportive networks will appreciate your reliability. There may be a need to delegate more as opportunities grow. The most dangerous habit is trying to do everything yourself. Inner shift. Moving from perfectionism to impact. Virgo's inner work is learning to trade minute control for broader influence. It's not about doing every task personally, but ensuring the machine hums. Action prompt. Choose one process to automate or delegate in spring. Free that time to pursue a strategic opportunity in summer. This moment is a hinge. The 6 signs we've explored are facing immediate seasonal signals that ask for decisive but measured action. If you are Aries through Virgo, you already have a map for the months ahead. Note the spring triggers, prepare to accelerate in summer, consolidate in autumn, and close the year with secure steps in winter. Remember, these are possibilities framed by interpretations of predictions attributed to Baba Vanga, not guarantees. Your choices, consistency, and readiness will determine how these energies play out. If any of what you've heard so far connects to you, leave your sign in the comments and share a short line about which seasonal beat feels closest. And if you want the rest of the Zodiac, how Libra through Pisces may be touched by this awakening, subscribe so you don't miss the full reading. Now, take a moment to internalize the practical playbook for these first 6 signs. Pick one clear priority for spring. Commit one actionable step per month toward it. Use summer to expand what works. In autumn, tighten the structures that produced results. By winter, accept the reward with calm stewardship rather than grand celebration. That pattern, plan, act, expand, secure, is where 2026 rewards visible effort. Even as you prepare, keep an eye for small signals, an unexpected message, a renewed contact, a fee that arrives late but steadies. These are the kinds of nudge events that, when noticed and acted upon, compound into unforgettable momentum. Libra, balance through action. Expectation, January-February clarity, spring decision point, summer steady growth, autumn big financial or relational event. For Libra, 2026 reads like a year that rewards the person who finally stops weighing options and starts setting the scales in motion. The early months bring a sharpening of priorities, an unexpected clarity that helps you sort what truly deserves your attention. That clarity is not an endpoint, It's a starting signal. Spring becomes the season to choose a direction and commit to it. Once you make that choice, momentum accumulates, summer carries the work forward, and autumn may bring a tangible outcome, a contract, a partnership, a new arrangement that confirms you made the right decision. Career and finance. Expect that a decision you make in late winter or spring creates a runway for meaningful negotiation by summer. This could look like reorganizing your workload to favor higher value clients, accepting a managerial role that aligns with your strengths, or finalizing a financial plan that converts potential into steadier income. The emphasis is on making strategic choices rather than scattering energy across too many appealing options. Relationships. Libra's hallmark is partnership, and 2026 asks you to set clearer terms. Spring's decision point may mean redefining boundaries or agreeing on shared goals with a partner. Those conversations aren't always easy, but they tend to produce healthier dynamics that survive the greater momentum of summer and the accountability of autumn. Inner shift. The central work is converting indecision into informed commitment. Libra learns to treat balance as a dynamic practice. Choose, adjust, recommit, rather than aiming for a mythical static equilibrium. That shift reduces fatigue and multiplies results. How to spot the signal. Invitations that ask for a yes or no with clear stakes. Proposals that require a boundary to be named. A resource put on the table that only works if you pick a side. When you see these, resist hedging. Decide with information, but decide. Action prompt. By early spring, write a one-page decision memo. What you will start, what you will stop, and a 90-day plan to test that choice. Share it with one trusted person for accountability. Coming up, Scorpio, strategic moves that quietly change the game. Scorpio, strategic deepening and precision. Expectation, early year signal, spring focus and tension, summer maximum growth, autumn consolidation and reputation shift. Scorpio's year is less about broad daylight breakthroughs and more about precise, strategic moves that compound over time. An early signal, perhaps a confidential conversation or a subtle opening, alerts you to a thread that, if pulled with care, can unravel a new level of influence. Spring brings discipline and focus. The work will require emotional regulation and tactical thinking. Summer amplifies gains for those who maintain their course. By autumn, your reputation could shift from competent to indispensable. Career and finance, strategic positioning pays. This might be the year you accept a quiet leadership role, negotiate a stake in a project, or take a calculated risk that others overlook. Expect financial rewards that reflect long-term influence rather than a one-time windfall. Equity, steady commissions, or raises tied to measurable impact. Relationships. Intimacy deepens for those willing to share strategy instead of simply emotion. However, guard against secrecy that breeds mistrust. Transparency, calibrated to context, is the hallmark of healthy Scorpio interactions this year. Inner shift. The inner work centers on harnessing intensity into sustainable discipline. Scorpio's strength is depth. Convert that into predictable routines so the intensity yields output rather than burnout. How to spot the signal. A request for confidential involvement, a hint that you're being considered for something with long-term implications, or a small test of your commitment. Notice when people begin to ask for your counsel. Action prompt. When you receive a subtle opening, map 3 measurable objectives tied to it and list the minimal steps required each week to advance them. Keep your plan under review and protect it against emotional impulsivity. Up next, Sagittarius, where expansion meets structure. Sagittarius, massive awakening and materialization. Expectation, early environment shift, spring materialization, summer expansion, autumn significant payoff. Sagittarius walks into 2026 with the wind of opportunity at their back. The prediction pattern suggests that early cues, changes in your environment, a new community, or a shift in your audience create fertile soil. Spring is when those possibilities begin to take material form.
projects, travel opportunities, public platforms, or teaching moments gain traction. Summer is about scaling the energy, taking the vision public, monetizing a passion project, or expanding a network. Autumn may bring a meaningful payoff, not necessarily a single jackpot, but a level up, greater reach, renewed resources, or a position that amplifies your voice. Career and finance, momentum comes through visibility and bold offers.
If you've been cultivating expertise or an audience, 2026 is likely to present chances to monetize or formalize that work. A speaking gig, a publication, a course, or a travel-linked opportunity could translate into revenue that sustains expansion. Relationships. Community grows around your mission. Allies who match your long-range optimism appear, but the test will be marrying enthusiasm with follow-through. Friendships that are all talk will fade. Partnerships built on shared execution endure. Inner shift. Transforming enthusiasm into disciplined process is the central lesson. Big ideas need scaffolding. Sagittarius learns to temper restlessness and invest in the structures that make scale possible. How to spot the signal. Invitations to appear, to teach, to travel, or offers that expand your platform. When those arrive, ask, can this be systematized? If yes, it's likely worth exploring. Action prompt. Choose one high-visibility project and design a 6-month roadmap that includes measurable benchmarks and delegated tasks. Convert your excitement into replicable mechanics. Keep listening. Capricorn's year rewards steady stewardship and the art of letting go so others can lead. Capricorn, reward, scale, and delegation. Expectation. January opening, steady mid-year acceleration, autumn consolidation, winter lesson, and delegation. For Capricorn, 2026 feels like a ledger closing in your favor. Early openings present work that, if managed sensibly, compounds into sizable returns by mid-year. The essence of this forecast is payback for long-term investment. Years of consistent effort begin to yield more than incremental gains. But with growth comes the need to redistribute responsibility. The winter note in this prophecy is a lesson in delegation. To sustain scale, Capricorn must accept help and establish systems. Career and finance. Significant contracts, promotions, or business growth are likely if you allow structures to support the increase. The year favors those who can move from hands-on mastery to leadership, shifting from being the primary doer to orchestrating the process. Relationships. Professional relationships may change as power dynamics shift. Personal relationships can feel the strain if work demands increase without boundary adjustments. Honesty about capacity will protect trust. Inner shift. The key is learning to trust processes and people. Capricorn's growth depends on relinquishing perfectionist control and investing in leadership development, both in self and team. How to spot the signal. Requests to scale your output, offers that require supervision of others, or an influx of responsibilities that exceed your current bandwidth. These are invitations to build operations, not merely to work harder. Action prompt. Identify one role or task you will hand off this year. Draft a transition plan with metrics, a training checklist, and a 30, 60, 90-day review to ensure continuity. Next, Aquarius, where ideas become authoritative systems. Aquarius, ideas into authority and structural change. Expectation. January contacts activate projects, spring structural shifts, summer visible authority, autumn leadership consolidation. Aquarius's year in 2026 is about methodical conversion. Ideas that have been incubating move into systems people can use. Early in the year, a contact or a conversation likely triggers a project that needs structure. Spring is for building, establishing frameworks, protocols, or models. Summer brings visibility as your systems gain adoption or your ideas gain authority. By autumn, you may be recognized not just for being original, but for delivering something practical that others can rely on. Career and finance. Opportunities favor those who can package knowledge into usable forms, platforms, courses, tools, or organizational protocols. Financial returns come from scalability, licensing, memberships, or institutional adoption rather than one-off gigs. Relationships. Your collaborations are most fruitful with people who can execute your designs. Seek partners who complement your visionary bent with operational discipline. Inner shift. The challenge is completing the arc from brilliance to execution. Aquarius evolves by learning implementation rhythms, deadlines, follow-up, and iterative improvement. How to spot the signal. A request to formalize an idea. Someone asks for a proposal, a pilot, or a replicable process. A funder or collaborator references scaling. These are not casual curiosities. They suggest real demand. Action prompt. Build a pilot version of one idea in spring and run a small, measurable test by summer. Use results to refine the model and prepare for wider rollout in autumn. Finally, Pisces. Intuition grounded by structure. Pisces. Intuitive action and structured compassion. Expectation. Early visibility, February through April career shifts, spring catalytic moves, autumn expansion, winter steadying. Pisces enters 2026 with a blend of intuition and practicality. Early on, a piece of visibility, an unexpected chance to show your work, or a recommendation may open a door. February through April are especially sensitive months for career shifts. A role or project that better matches your inner calling could present itself. The prophecy suggests that Pisces' spiritual sensitivity becomes an asset when combined with pragmatic steps. Spring catalyzes significant realignment. Summer lets you grow into it, autumn expands your reach, and winter helps you secure what has been built. Career and finance. Momentum is likely to come from creative, service-oriented, or spiritually aligned work that finally finds a market. Monetization may follow when you pair intuition with disciplined offers. Clear services, defined packages, and measurable outcomes. Relationships. Deep connections flourish when boundaries are clear. You may find allies who value both your empathy and your capacity to deliver results. Guard against absorption. Help with structured support rather than endless emotional labor. Inner shift. The central lesson is integrating mystical insight with operational competence. Pisces thrives when imagination is matched by deadlines and deliverables. How to spot the signal. Invitations that call you to formalize what you do. Requests for services, collaborations, or leadership in community projects. When you sense a warm resonance and a practical doorway, test it. Action prompt. Define one service or product you can offer by summer. Create a simple pricing or contribution model and schedule 3 outreach conversations to test interest. Microhooks and retention beats between these forecasts. For Libra, think decisive balance before spring. For Scorpio, precision in secrecy creates reputational leaps. For Sagittarius, a global-sized idea can be made domestic with a plan. For Capricorn, scale asks for stewardship. For Aquarius, systematize your genius. For Pisces, honor intuition with a timeline. Each of these lines can be the moment that keeps listeners leaning forward. Synthesis. The shape of 2026's awakening. Across these 6 signs and the 6 we explored earlier, a clear pattern emerges. 2026 tends to reward the person who transforms insight into structure, courage into plan, and momentum into maintenance. The phrase, Year of the Great Awakening, as used in circulating predictions attributed to Baba Vanga, suggests not a passive miracle, but a phase shift, new alignments in which opportunity appears to those prepared to act. This year is less about sudden miracles than about properly timed decisions amplified by consistent follow-through. 3 shared themes recur across signs. First, timing matters. Spring frequently presents the first visible opportunity. Summer is a season to accelerate.
Autumn often confirms or consolidates gains. Winter is when sustainability is tested. Second, commitment beats curiosity when scale is the goal. Start less, finish more. Third, delegation and systems thinking convert temporary wins into lasting elevation. Interpretation suggests that 2026 is generous, but generosity without management becomes exhaustion rather than elevation. The practical implication is straightforward. Treat signals as invitations that require planning. When the universe or the pattern of events shows you a door, step through with a map rather than improvisation alone. The annual playbook, a practical four-phase strategy. If you want to treat 2026 as more than a prophecy and instead use it as an actionable season, adopt a four-phase playbook aligned to the year's natural rhythm. This is a tactical map applied across signs. Adapt the language to your priorities. 1. Identify and prioritize. Winter through early spring. Spend January-February discerning one or two priorities that would transform your year if they progressed. Use a simple triage: impact, feasibility, and alignment with values.
Practical exercise. Practical exercise. Create a one-page strategy for each priority. What success looks like in 6 months, 3 milestones, and the first week's actions. Mental habit. Resist shiny object syndrome. Test interest, then commit. 2. Act and prototype. Spring. Spring is your experiment window. Take the first concrete steps. Make calls, launch a pilot, submit that proposal, or say yes to an invitation that tests a hypothesis. Practical exercise. Run a 3-week sprint with daily microtasks and weekly checkpoints. Celebrate small wins to maintain morale. Red flag. Avoid overcommitting resources before results are visible. Prototype small, learn fast. 3. Scale and accelerate. Summer. Use summer to amplify what worked. Bring on partners, automate repetitive tasks, and invest incremental resources into proven levers. Practical exercise. Schedule 2 deep work blocks each week dedicated to scaling tasks: outreach, system building, delegation. Leadership note. This is the time to communicate clearly with collaborators about expectations and timelines. 4. Consolidate and secure. Autumn through winter. Autumn is for converting momentum into durable structures: contracts, recurring revenue, institutional relationships, or formal processes. Practical exercise. Draft a maintenance plan: who does what, how success is measured, and a contingency for the next year. Stewardship note. In winter, protect gains by resting, planning fiscal buffers, and recognizing contributors. Monthly micro-rituals to catch the nudge events. Beyond the 4-phase playbook, adopt monthly micro-rituals that make you more receptive to nudge events, those small signals that often precede larger shifts. Weekly signal hour. 1 hour per week to scan messages, follow-ups, and recommendations. Respond to invitations that require less than 20 minutes to assess. Monthly decision day. A single day where you deliberately choose on outstanding proposals. Either commit, table, or decline. Avoid perpetual limbo. Quarterly stakeholder review. Every 3 months, update one person who supports you: mentor, partner, or advisor, so external accountability tracks progress. Daily micro yes. Say yes to one low-risk public action that makes your work visible: short post, brief talk, or an outreach email. Visibility compounds. How to read the signs. Behavioral cues to watch for. Predictions may be poetic, but practical advantage comes from noticing behavior patterns. Here are tangible cues to act on. Repeated contact. If someone reaches out more than once with interest, that's a signal to prioritize a conversation. Small tests. An offer for a pilot or trial often precedes larger opportunities. Treat it as a live audition. Time-pressured invitations. When an opportunity comes with a defined window, test if it aligns with your strategic options.
Sometimes a well-timed yes matters more than perfection.
Resource shifts. Sudden availability of funding, tools, or personnel suggests others are aligning with you. Invest proportional effort. A responsible note on interpretation. Throughout this forecast, remember, these readings are interpretations of predictions commonly attributed to Baba Vanga. They present possibilities that may be more likely under certain choices and preparations, not guarantees of fixed outcomes. Your agency, decisions, persistence, and discipline shapes how these energies manifest. Treat the prophecies as prompts, not prescriptions. Practical scripts and tiny habits to convert momentum. Sometimes the barrier between opportunity and result is simple execution. Here are practical scripts and micro habits to deploy when a spring signal appears. The one call script for exploratory conversations. Thank you for reaching out. I'm curious to learn more. Could we schedule a 20-minute call to outline goals and potential next steps? If it looks promising, I'll propose a pilot within a week. The follow-up template after a promising meeting. I appreciated our talk. As discussed, here are 3 possible first steps and a suggested timeline. I can begin, small deliverable, by date. Which of these fits your priorities? The delegation note when scaling. I'm handing off task to ensure consistency. Here's the checklist, the expected outcomes, and the weekly check-in time. Please flag anything that needs clarification. Micro habit. At the end of every workday, write one sentence. Tomorrow, I will move this forward by blank. The sentence forces a next action and reduces hesitation. Emotional practices for momentum with integrity. Operational skills matter, but so does the inner climate. Here are practices that help maintain clarity and reduce reactivity. Boundary rehearsal. Each week, practice saying no to one non-essential request. Short rehearsals build the muscle to protect your schedule in real scenarios. Gratitude accounting. List 3 small wins each Sunday. The habit reframes progress and reduces the compulsion to chase endless novelty. Reflective pause. Before major decisions, take a 24-hour pause to test initial enthusiasm against long-term alignment. Ask, will this still matter in 6 months? Support mapping. Identify 3 people you can call for different forms of support: strategy, reality check, and emotional grounding. Don't wait until crisis to use them. When to slow down. Red flags to heed. The prophecy energy invites action, but discernment prevents costly mistakes. Consider these red flags. Offers that require immediate, large financial commitments without verifiable trust signals. Opportunities that ask you to bypass standard checks. No contracts, no references, no test runs. Repeated overwork without structural support. If you're constantly firefighting, the system needs redesign before further scaling. Emotional pressure framed as urgency. Important decisions often have built-in friction. If someone is coercing a quick yes, pause. Stories of execution, illustrative, not predictive. To ground these ideas, imagine 3 short vignettes of how people might use the year's momentum. These are illustrative patterns, not promises. The organizer. A Virgo who automated a client onboarding process in spring found mid-year they could accept 3 new clients without adding hours, turning steady diligence into scalable income. The strategist. A Scorpio who accepted a confidential advisory role in spring created a framework that proved indispensable by autumn, resulting in a formal leadership position and a new revenue stream for their skill. The connector. A Sagittarius who built a 6-month public speaking schedule from a single early invitation expanded into a course by summer, converting visibility into recurring revenue. Each story shares one common thread: a small, timely action followed by disciplined scaling. Final practical checklist before you step into 2026. Pick one priority that would change the tone of your year if it moved forward. Draft a 1-page strategy for that priority with 3 measurable milestones. Schedule one decision day in spring to act on the first milestone.
Define one task you will delegate to free time for strategy. Enlist one accountability partner to review progress monthly. Closing reflection, claiming the year without expecting permission. If 2026 is to be unforgettable for certain zodiac signs, it's because some individuals align choice with timing, courage with craft, and vision with systems. The predictions commonly attributed to Baba Vanga describe openings, doors, second winds, justice restored. But the movement through those doors requires method. The spiritual consolation of a prophecy is not in passivity. It's in recognizing that an invitation exists and deciding to enter on terms that preserve integrity and produce lasting value. So take the signals seriously, but not literally. Use them as a framework to sharpen decisions and build routines. Let spring be your laboratory, summer your amplifier, autumn your consolidator, and winter your steward. Whether you're Aries or Pisces, the principle is the same. Notice the nudge, act with a plan, scale what works, and protect the gains. One last thought before we close. Watch for small, counterintuitive signs. The handshake that becomes a partnership, the late-night message that turns into a client, the awkward conversation that frees you from a draining role. Those are the quiet mechanics of awakening. Which sign are you? Drop it in the comments and tell us which seasonal beat resonated most. Spring spark, summer's acceleration, autumn's confirmation, or winter's stabilization. Share this with a friend who needs a nudge to prepare.
If this reading landed for you, subscribe for deeper monthly breakdowns and sign-specific prompts to help you act when your season arrives. Predictions are prompts. Your choices make them real.